everything bad, or not everything was bad about the convention this week. I heard this great thing come from our bishop. He said that there's really two types of Christians. There's crock-pot Christians, and there are microwave Christians. The crock-pot Christian is the kind that is sort of prepared over a long period of time. And the microwave Christian's one that sort of zapped all at once, And the important thing is that both of them worked. Both of them worked. The important thing in life is just get cooked. That's what our bishop says. I think that's great. Several years ago, I went on a spiritual retreat at Camp Beckwith, our local diocesan camp. And yes, I know to many of us, spiritual retreat sounds like something like pulling teeth. But it actually was very good. It was filled full of wonderful Episcopalians, grounded, great people. And as the weekend progressed, people began to share more and more deeply of their faith and of what they'd experienced, how they'd experienced God in these real ways. It was moving, it was wonderful. But about the last day, I think it was before lunch, I was in a meeting and I just suddenly had enough. So I stood up in front of everyone. I just walked out of the meeting, walked out of that meeting room, off the porch, into the woods. I found there a path, and I thought, well, providentially, this is here for me. So I just followed that path, and I kept walking into the woods. And there at Beckwith, there's the great pine trees, And so I kept walking into those great pines until I was quite sure no one could hear me. And I looked up at those pines, and the wind was blowing through them. I could hear it. And the sun was shining, and the birds were singing, the seagulls, and the bees were buzzing. And I looked up and I said, okay, God, here I am. Let me hear it. Faith has come hard for me. It's been a hard fought, but I have so many doubts. Just let me hear your voice. Let me see you. Let me hear you. So cast out all these doubts. And I looked up, and I saw those trees swaying in the breeze, and the wind, and the birds singing, and the bees. I listened, and in the silence, I heard it. I heard a calling that appealed so deeply to my heart. It was the lunch bell ringing back at camp, telling me lunchtime. And I said, God, don't pass me by. Let me hear it. You knew I was sincerely wanting to hear His voice. He never spoke to me. He never spoke to me on that day. Dallas, that baby's just fine. You don't worry about that baby. That baby's just fine. God never spoke to me that day. Although I pleaded with Him. And perhaps some of you can relate to this story. There at your bedside, in the dark, by yourself, praying to God. Let me hear your voice. Today we read the story of the Transfiguration. We read it this day every year, the week before Lent begins. This story of Jesus being transformed. This story is powerful and it's so deep and there's so much symbolism. We get gleaned so much for our lives. But today I want to encourage us not to miss the obvious message of the Scripture. What lays right there before us. Jesus takes these men up to the top of a mountain. What does God do at the top of mountains? What did God do with Moses at the top of the high mountain? He gives commandments at the top of the mountain, doesn't He? And today is no different. Today God gives a commandment. And what does God say? What is His commandment today? Listen to Him. Listen to Jesus. It's this great, clear commandment. Did you notice the rest of the story, right? There's this great voice. Listen to Him. And then Jesus walks all the way down this high mountain, and He only says one thing. He says, hey, don't tell anybody about all that. Not quite yet. Sort of anticlimactic. Listen to Him. And then silence. We're listening. We need to hear. But silence. Regardless of whether we're new to our faith and mostly still an unbeliever, or whether one of these pews have your knee prints, one of the kneelers have your knee prints sort of engraved in them, We need to hear from Jesus. We need to hear from God. We want to know about these jobs of ours that unfulfill us in our guts, about our doubts about Him, about our failed relationships, about our grief, about our diseases, and about our country. And Lord, about our teenagers. We need to hear from God, don't we? I had a conversation with several of you not long ago about the question that mattered most to you in your life, that was most important. And almost unanimously, as we ran around the table, the question was something like, what is this life about? What is the purpose of this? What is truth? What am I? We have questions, and we need an answer that only God can give, and yet, silence. And in this silence, we must know that something important happens, but something dangerous happens. What dangerous happens is that when we cannot hear the voice of God clearly, and out of our honest hunger for Him, we can get desperate. And in our desperation, we can listen to the wrong voices, can't we? I know I have. We misread the tea leaves. You see Christians do this all the time. We are masters of self-deception. It's important for us to know in our honest hunger for God that this is the truth of us. So often we listen to the wrong voice, and instead of leading us to life, it prolongs our suffering, it hurts those around us, we judge others. Sure, maybe that voice provides us with the comfort immediately, because after all, normally that's what we wanted to hear anyway. But in the long run, it's disastrous. It's not the voice of God. So we're commanded today to listen. We're hungry to hear, yet we're unreliable to discern. What are we to do in this mess of our reality? One response I know very well is the response to throw up our hands and say, well, because God does not communicate to us in our time and in our way, and because He didn't speak to me that day in the woods, that, well, either He's fictional or He's distant and uninvolved, right? To throw up our hands and say there's no use. He's either not there or He's uninvolved. And this appears to be the easy way, I think often. It does, but the long run we know assuredly this is not the easy way. For this leaves us where we are. Leaves us, leave that hunger, that God-shaped hunger within us, unaddressed, unfulfilled. So surely we know that staying where we are is not the answer, throwing up our hands. But again, we must not be arrogant in thinking and forgetting about our tendencies to misread. So not reading and not misreading. So instead, my friends, we are called, the Christian life is a calling to take up this commandment that we hear today. To take up this commandment to listen with all of our being, with our mind, with our hearts, with our ears, taking counsel, taking study, taking prayer, with all of our being, to listen, to look for the signs of the Almighty, humbly searching, being led as we seek. This is what it means to have a life of faith, to live after Jesus Christ. It's not having the answers, it's seeking after His answers, trusting Him one step, scary, uncertain step at a time. Personally, this is one of the reasons why I became a priest in some way or another, is to help anyone I can to make this walk. This is my walk. This is my story of going from lost and an unbeliever to one who learns to hear the voice, to discern what is the truth of Jesus, not in the words on a page, but the words in my life. And this is what I want us to do here. I want our ministries here to be about helping all who come here to hear the call of God. Not only to help them hear their call to listen, but to be able to hear the call. To equip. There's a story in the Bible which many of you know. It's a story that most of us appreciate. It's the Samaritan woman at the well. Y'all know that one? That Jesus is at the well, and there's a Samaritan woman. She's not Jewish. There's a wonderful interplay and exchange. And when she hears Jesus, she goes back to her people, and she says, "This man has told me everything I've done. He is the Messiah. Come and hear." And the people from our own town say, "Wow, if this woman is saying this, we'll come." So they come out and they listen to Jesus. And at the end of the story, this is the way it concludes. The people then turn to the woman, and it says, the Bible says that they say, "We no longer believe because what you told us. We now believe because we have heard ourselves from Jesus." No longer do they believe because what they've been told, but because of what they have been able to hear for themselves. That is the kind of faith which we all long for, which we're called to. The kind of faith which leads us to the true blessings which God has in store for us. So again, I hope that our church will not only help us to hear the call to listen, but will equip you and me to hear Him. And to do that, I'll mention to you what we have coming up this Lent. Lent, our liturgy, the spiritual disciplines, all of it is just ways tools, instruments to help us listen to the voice of God in the silence of our hearts. In this Lenten season, we're going to be doing a class on the spiritual disciplines starting next week. And again, those things are not for goody-goody two-shoes and monks and nuns and priests. No, they're for you, for people like you, to help us to center our hearts on God so that we may hear His call. I bid you, no matter if you come to these classes or not, let us all take up the call to listen to our God in every silent moment of our lives, that we may hear how He leads us through the uncertainty. For that is what it means to be a Christian. Take up the faithful task of listening for Jesus' voice in the silence. Lord God, help us to receive you well. In Jesus' name, amen.